Wait a minute. Don't go nowhere. This ain't what this video's about. My name is Rack Attack. Welcome to my channel, Rack Attack Gamer. And you can call me Rack. So, what's with the guitar? Well, I don't have an intro. Needed something to goof around with, so there you go. Also, what is this image? Something I did in GIMP. I did a painting in GIMP. Maybe one of these days I'll do a YouTube video about painting in GIMP, but I needed something to start with. Still don't have an intro. Alright, so what do I want to talk about today? Well, I want to talk about the world events. I want to talk about the United States, stuff that's going on in the United States, current events. I want to talk about what's going on in the world and what it all means to me and stuff like that. So, this is the 6th time I'm trying to do this video because things keep messing up and it's awful boring for me to try to do and say the same thing 6 times in a row. 7th, whatever. But let's see if we can do it. Alright, first I want to say that everything in this video is my opinion. If I make any statements in this video, they're only my opinion. Next, if any images or videos are used in this video, then I'm claiming fair use because they're used for the purposes of criticism, news reporting, teaching, and so forth, research, whatever. Back to this for now. I want to start with 2 stories. They're going to be weird. Well, 2 examples. And the first one's a story, the second one's an example. But they have a purpose and they mean something, so let's just go into it. First one. Hold with me now. This is a picture of my grandmother. Okay, not really. At about 50 years, and she wasn't that pretty, but at about 50 years, you can kind of get the idea. She kind of looks like my grandmother a little bit. My grandmother, when I was a kid, used to make chicken soup for me. I'd eat it, and it was great. And then she would give me a chicken leg, a drumstick. And she'd say, "Now be careful of the bones. There's that little skinny one in there. Don't choke on it." I'd say, "Okay." I'd say, "Hey, Graham, tell me, why do they put bones in chicken?" Well, I was single digits. I didn't know no better. I was young. And, of course, I was told, and then I had a change of worldview and stuff like that. That's a clue. Next. Let's go here. Tell me, without reading anything, where is this? Nice looking place. Maybe southwest, midwest, southwest. Nice scenery. Grass, trees. Where is this? All right. Well, let's get a different view of it. Let's get out of street view and go into satellite view. I was way out there. I wanted to be way in. But I'm not going to start the video again. Anyway, now looking at it, where are we? Don't be reading words, just where are we? Don't know? Let's zoom out. How about now? How about now? How about now? How about now? So what is this? Why all this? Okay, well, because as you can see, as I'm going out, as the perspective changes, you can tell that it's in well, you already read it. It was Mongolia or someplace like that. But you can tell because we changed the view of it. We zoomed out. You got a bigger picture. You had more understanding of where we're at, and so you can tell where we're at. So story 1, my grandmother, I wasn't informed, I didn't know. I was a kid. Why did they make chicken with bones in it? I mean, silly question, but I was a kid. I wasn't informed. I didn't know until I was told, and I had an understanding, and it's like, whoa, that's pretty weird what chicken really is. I mean, I knew there was chickens, I guess. I don't remember. But it's the same thing with this second example. As we're way in there, at street level, you look around, you don't know where you're at. That could be anywhere. You start to zoom out, you get a better picture. So what am I talking about here? I'm talking about the next thing. A paradigm shift. Now, why am I talking about a paradigm shift? And what is a paradigm shift, in case you don't know? It's a change of worldview. You can read on the screen. Fundamental change in approach to understanding or underlying assumptions. Underlying assumptions. So, why am I talking about this? Well, now the whole purpose starts to come in. I'm talking about the differences between the left and right. If you go back far enough in my aging, go back far enough, I was very much more left. If you then go forward in time, and from the things I learned and absorbed and stuff like that, I became more and more right. I've noticed, and this is a side note, but I've noticed a difference, a fundamental difference between left and right. And this does not cover everybody, so I ain't trying to say that it covers everybody. It just seems to be there's this major difference between left and right. And I only bring it up just to touch on it very briefly and to continue, is there seems to be a God thing. For instance, people on the right are usually against abortion. People on the left are pro-abortion. People on the right, a lot of them, I bet you, are against abortion. Not everyone are against abortion because of a religious belief system. Usually in our United States of America, usually Judeo-Christian, but maybe other ones too. The left, they're more scientific, and let's get down to the nitty-gritty. And well, what I'm saying is there's fundamental differences between the left and right. I agree with the right more nowadays. The left, I don't agree with. Why? Is because, like I showed you with these other examples, is that I learned more. I had a bigger picture on things. When I thought chickens shouldn't be made with bones in, or I didn't know where this location was until I zoomed way out and got a bigger picture of it all, you're adding information. You're getting a paradigm shift. I became more and more right. Let's continue on. Yeah, we already did that. All right. Well, look, Rack. People are allowed their own opinions, and they don't always coincide with yours. As an artist, you just have to keep plugging on. Paul McCartney. Well, all right. People are entitled to their own opinions, right? But what if those opinions are being manipulated and swayed? Let's continue. I have something to show you here. Now, if you've watched any of my other videos, the serious ones, not the gaming ones, then you might have seen this before, but just bear with me. It's important. I have to reiterate it in case somebody comes in and watches this as my first video. Oh, why am I wearing a mask? That's a long story. Go watch 2 videos ago from where I posted, and then I explain it there. Anyway, so let's watch a little bit of this, and we'll continue on. There's a reason behind all this. There's a reason behind my thesis so far, or what I'm proposing so far, is that opinions are being molded. So let's continue. Let's watch. See what happens. Listen closely.
Every year, New York held an Easter Day parade to which thousands came.
All right, I got to stop there because I got to set it up. I forgot. They're talking about Edward Bernays. Edward Bernays was the nephew of Sigmund Freud. And at this Easter parade, he's going to try something. And there's a purpose in him trying something. I'll further set it up. In the 1920s, this is about the 1920s, people were smoking. Men were smoking, but women were not smoking. So the tobacco companies came to the nephew of Sigmund Freud, who was also a psychiatrist, psychologist, or whatever, something like that. Go look him up. Edward Bernays. And they asked him to see if he could come up with some sort of plan, because he already helped in the war, selling war bonds and all this other stuff. He helped in a war effort, First World War, I would imagine, because 1920s. He helped in propaganda. And they asked him, can you do something to get people to smoke? And he said, well, let me take a look. Let me see if I can come up with something. So now it's set up, and let's watch. And it's an Easter parade, or I don't know, wherever they said parade.
And Bernays decided to stage an event there. He persuaded a group of rich debutantes to hide cigarettes under their clothes. Then they should join the parade, and at a given signal from him, they were to light up the cigarettes dramatically. Bernays then informed the press that he had heard that a group of suffragettes were preparing to protest by lighting up what they called torches of freedom.
He knew this would be an outcry, and he knew that all of the photographers would be there to capture this moment. And so he was ready with a phrase which was torches of freedom. And so here you have a symbol, women, young women, debutantes, smoking a cigarette in public with a phrase that means anybody who believes in this kind of equality pretty much has to support them in the ensuing debate about this, because torches of freedom. I mean, what's on all American coins? It's liberty. She's holding up the torch, you see? And so all of this is there together. There's emotion, there's memory, there's a rational phrase, even though it's using a lot of emotional elements. It's a phrase that works in a rational sense. All of this is together. And so the next day, this was not just in all of the New York papers, it was across the United States and around the world. And from that point forward, the sale of cigarettes to women began to rise. He had made them socially acceptable with a single symbolic act.
All right. Now, I played that and I played it, speed it up because I like to watch videos that way, or else they take too long. So, he comes up with this little scheme, gives debutantes cigarettes to smoke, tells the press to go there and take a look at these young, beautiful women, and they smoke and they come up with a phrase, and then the paradigm shifted. The women's paradigm shifted in America and throughout the world. They began to smoke. This is done by one person, a little bit of media, a little bit of setup, and he's gotten millions of people to smoke because he shifted the paradigm. One person manipulated the minds of many and controlled them, basically. He set out to control the minds of many, and he did. And it was very easy. Keep that in mind when you're watching TV and stuff like that. Next example. There's a purpose to this too. This all goes somewhere. This is setting. I'll set this one up too. This is Aaron Russo. Aaron Russo was a producer in, I guess, Hollywood, if you want to call it that. He made one of his most famous films was Trading Places with Eddie Murphy and Dan Aykroyd. And he's being interviewed by none other than Alex Jones, the banned the banned person of the internet, the bad guy, right? Or at least that's what everybody says. So he's being interviewed, and he's discussing, he had a friend, believe his name was Dave Rockefeller. Now, yes, I am talking about the Rockefellers. I don't know how Dave fits in, and if you look up on the internet, there's some guy saying that Dave didn't exist, but he exists. As far as I can tell, I researched it a little bit. Sure enough, it looks like he exists. The guy's wrong. So, he is talking about Dave Rockefeller, and I'll just let him speak. Just listen to it. Now, Dave Rockefeller, as being part of the family of the Rockefellers, was the in crowd, was very influential. And yes, I am talking about the New World Order. Let's listen.
He would talk, and he started laughing. He said, "Aaron, what do you think women's liberation was about?" And I said, I had pretty conventional thinking about it at that point. I said, I think it's about women having the right to work, getting equal pay with men, just like they won the right to vote, you know? And he started to laugh. He said, "You're an idiot." And I said, "Why am I an idiot?" He said, "Let me tell you what that was about. We, the Rockefellers, funded that. We funded Women's Lib, you know? And we're the ones who got all over the newspapers and television, the Rockefeller Foundation." He says, "And you want to know why?" He said, "There were two primary reasons. And they were, one reason was we couldn't tax half the population before Women's Lib. And the second reason was, now we get the kids in school at an early age. We can indoctrinate the kids how to think. It breaks up the family. The kids start looking at the state as the family, as the school, as the officials, as their family, not as the parents teaching them." And so those are the two primary reasons for Women's Lib, which I thought up to that point was a noble thing. You know, when I saw their intentions behind it, where they were coming from when they created it, the thought of it, I saw the evil behind what I thought was a noble adventure.
Aaron, did you know that Gloria Steinem, in one of her own books, now admits the CIA funded Miss Magazine?
No, I had no idea about that.
All right, so that little tidbit at the end there I just left in just so you can see that there's an effort to control people's minds in the media or elsewhere. And when Aaron Russo was talking, he would say they funded Women's Lib. They did things with the media. They did this. They did that. I will use the nebulous phrase that I always use called the New World Order. Don't believe me the New World Order exists? I got videos on that. Go look at them. Otherwise, just turn your dollar bill over and look at the back of the dollar bill. Novus Order Secularum. New World Order. I mean, they'll say, some people say New Order of the Ages, but no. Secularum sounds like secular. Secular is the world of the world. New World Order. All right, next. So you have two examples right there, big ones, of just either one person or a very small group of people manipulating society and just molding it whichever way they want to mold it. This happens. This goes on all the time, all the time. This is an important thing. It goes back to left, right. It goes back to what I believe is going on in this world. Like I said, opinion. Let's move on. This is Eric Holder. If you don't know who he is, look him up. He's talking about guns and what he's planning on doing with guns. Let's listen, and we'll continue on.
Is that we just have to be repetitive about this. It's not enough to simply have a catchy ad on a Monday and then only do it every Monday. We need to do this every day of the week and just really brainwash people into thinking about guns in a vastly different way.
All right. He used the word. He came straight out and said, we got to really brainwash people into thinking about guns in a different way. Of course, he wants to get rid of guns or reduce them or whatever. It is, again, of my opinion that they are coming after our guns. But this isn't about guns. It's just about the brainwashing. You have three different examples. Well, two examples and one person just coming out and saying it. You know, we gotta brainwash people. What I'm proposing is this goes on all the time. Once they figured out, maybe from Edward Bernays, maybe that was the first time. I don't know. But if it was, ever since then, they realized, like, holy moly, we can really manipulate society through this media of the press getting there and taking pictures and stories. All right, let's continue. In various films, and they talk about this a lot on YouTube. You can do a search for Disney subliminal messages or hidden messages in Disney. Or it doesn't even have to be Disney. It could be basically every single movie, TV show, anything. I guarantee you, in my opinion, there is stuff that they stick in there, to mold people's minds, to have an end event. They want to bring people to a certain point, so they stick this stuff in films, they stick it in television shows, in magazines, periodicals, and it doesn't even all have to be subliminal either. It could be just out there. They're trying to shift people from one place where they are to another place. Just think about it. Think about history. Where were we in the 1920s or the 1910s? Women didn't have short skirts and bikinis and all this other stuff. All that stuff came later. Sex, the sexual revolution, all this stuff. Don't you think all this stuff was manipulated? Not just about sex. I mean, just take a look at the one picture here. This particular Disney, I forget, Monsters Inc., I believe it was. They come out with, it says Uncle Roger and Mommy, and you can see the picture. And this is by no means the only one. They have a zillion examples of this type of manipulation, subliminals, and just regular coming straight out. Like, here's another one. What does that look like? So you need to do the research on these type of things. If you don't know about this already, I mean, it's all over YouTube. You must know about it now, especially if you're watching this video. But what I'm proposing is that there's manipulation through the media, through the press, and so forth. Let's continue. Listen to this one now.
In the 1950s, a weapon was invented that has become more powerful than America's deadliest weapons of mass destruction. It is the weapon of mass deception, and it is right in our own living rooms. The hypnotizing world of picture television brings us the news of the world through two central news agencies called Reuters and the Associated Press. The Rothschilds bought Reuters in the 1800s, which later bought the Associated Press and made the Rothschild family owners of the world's largest central news services. To the present day, the world depends on these Rothschild-owned central news services as their main source of news and information. In his book called Who Owns the TV Networks, author Eustace Mullins claims that the major TV networks, radio stations, newspapers, and publishing empires are controlled by the Rothschild, Rockefeller, and J.P. Morgan money cartels through their corporate conglomerates.
All right. I think that's enough. I'm only playing portions. I don't want to get copyright nonsense on me. So, you heard it there. Rockefellers, J.P. Morgans, Rothschilds. So who is this Rothschild guy? Well, here's one. I believe his name is Nathan Rothschild. And it says here, as of April 2017, the Rothschild family net worth was estimated at $400 billion. Did you hear me? 400 billion, as Alex Jones likes to say. Yeah, 400 billion. Now, I actually think this is very low. I think they're trillionaires. I think they're maybe even multiple trillionaires. But whatever, 400 billion. What could you do with the media with $400 billion? And it's not only him. You heard it was Rockefellers and Rothschilds and a conglomerate of these rich people. If you wanted to control someone's mind, going back to Edward Bernays, what would it take to control people's minds if you had $400 billion? Don't know. What I'm proposing, though, is we are being controlled a lot, all the time. What I'm proposing is this left-right, where is it? Nope. Yes. This left-right thing is, I believe, in my opinion, the left is being mind-controlled from the stuff you just saw, from the stuff you saw. Through the media, that's another thing. Ask people on the left, where do they get their news from? And they're going to say, well, CNN, MSNBC. They're going to tell you the major networks. Ask people on the right where they get their news from, and a lot of them will say, well, I do a little research and I watch, probably Fox maybe would be a common one. But the difference is that you're pumping out certain things to people on the left. We're getting it from mainstream media, and the right goes, I think, a little bit further. I hardly ever watch mainstream media news. I do research on the internet. I watch YouTube videos. I read books. Whatever. But I hardly ever watch mainstream media. But let's continue on. All right. So you're saying, but why? Why would they manipulate? Why? What's the purpose of all this? Well, think back tens, hundreds of years, 1,000 years. And I'll skip around on this video. This is a video of World Battlegrounds for 1,000 years. Now, I'm not going to skip around too much, but just take a look. Let's turn down the music. I don't want to get a copyright thing with music. Notice all the explosions going on. These are battles taking place, and here's the year. It's counting up, and there's battles going on everywhere. Well, what are all these people fighting for? Let's go to the next video. This video shows the borders and populations of each country in Europe for every year since 400 BC. Now, obviously, I'm not going to play the whole video, but I'll skip around. And we got music again I'm going to turn off. And just watch the map and what's going on with the map. I'm going to skip around because I don't want to take somebody's whole entire video. Notice the changes within the map. Roman Empire. In red. Let's go a little forward in time. More. Oh, the Roman Empire fell, apparently. You got Byzantine and Visigoth. Alright, well, I'm going to continue skipping a little bit. Take a look at all the differences. Well, who are these people fighting? Well, kings and queens and rich and royalties and... I don't know, I guess there might have been presidents back then. Prime ministers, influential people, but a lot of them kings and queens and monarchs and dictators and so forth. Of course, it's still going on basically to this day. 1973, 80, 87, 90, 2000, and they're still making changes. All right, well, the point is that kings and queens and people that want to rule the world and want to take over stuff are getting into battles. They're conquering places and taking over. Do you think all this stuff is just stopped? Like all the kings and queens and dictators and stuff like that? They all just we give up. We're done. We're going to stop now. I mean, it's been going on since 400 BC on this one map. and you figure like, okay, well now it's 2018, you know, we've had enough, you know, it's going to stop now. 2,000 and some odd years, but everybody's done. They ain't done. I don't think it's ever going to be done. There are very rich people. There are very influential people. There still are kings and queens and monarchs and dictators in the world. And they have agendas. They have things they want, and they're going to try to get them. Let's continue. What is this? This is the military spending budgets of nations from 2014. Top 1, USA. Second, China, Russia, Saudi Arabia, France, UK, India, Germany. But take a look at the amount of USA, how much more it is than China, Russia, and all the rest. So, if you were anywhere in any of these other countries, or an entity, because sometimes entities, and what I mean by an entity, I mean like a group of people working without a country, like they're not subjected or have a loyalty to any particular country. They're just themselves. For instance, a Freemason would come to mind. There's been instances of Freemasons on both sides of the war. There's been instances of Freemasons in a war not wanting to fight each other. So that would be a loyalty to a cause, a secret society, something on that order. That's a loyalty to something other than a country. However, even if you consider countries. But look at the difference, and what do you think the military might is compared to the rest of the countries? We're talking about military might, ships, planes, jets, bombs, guns, everything. If you were anywhere else, would you want to try to conquer the United States militarily and say, we're going to go in there and we're going to take our planes and... It's not a good idea. It just really wouldn't be a good idea. It's possible, I would guess. It's going to be tough. So if you were going to do this, would you want to do it militarily? Let's continue. Who's this? Albert Einstein. Why do I bring up Albert Einstein? Because Albert Einstein used to do a little trick that we're going to try. Let's see what that trick was. It's called a thought experiment, where he would sit back and he would take, for instance, light. He wanted to think about light. He wanted to come up with more ideas about how light, and yes, I'm talking about electromagnetic radiation, how light would act if you were able to ride on a light beam and stuff like that. Let's watch a little bit of something and listen for thought experiment. This is Carl Sagan.
Imagine a place where the speed of light isn't its
Cosmos.
true value of 300,000 kilometers a second, but something a lot less. Let's say 40 kilometers an hour, and strictly enforced.
Just as in the real world, we can never reach the speed of light. The commandment here is still, thou shalt not travel faster than light. But we can do thought experiments on what happens near
the speed of light. And that's what I wanted to get to, where he was saying about thought experiments.
On what happens near the speed of light. Kilometers an hour, light. But we can do thought experiments on what happens near.
So that's what I want to do right now. And I'm going to show you a different screen. If I can get it. And there it is. That's my thought experiment, and you can do it with me. So, if you were going to invade the United States with the goal of converting it to your desired way of life, what would you do? Well, think about warfare. What do they do in warfare? You know, planes come in, they see radio stations or radar, they take out the communication system, you know, and so on and so forth. Well, what if you didn't want to do it militarily? What would you do then? Think about it. You want to take over the United States. You're a foreign entity and you want to take over the United States. What do? All right. Well, if suppose you had $400 billion and say 1,000, maybe 10,000 people, and you wanted to secretly take over the United States because you don't want to mess with their military. What would you do? All right. Communications. Well, you got to start, if you want to change the way people in America think, and if that's your goal, because you want to take them over to your ideology, then you would infiltrate Communications, Hollywood, which pushes out all this media that you saw from Edward Bernays, all this manipulation, mind control. News, if you're going to inform people about stuff, you're going to control the news like it was already shown to you. Basically, 2 or 3 families control all the news. Although I think that was an old video, but still, it's probably very similar to the way it is today. 6 media corporations control all the news. Now, who pulls their strings? Is it hard to pull 6 people's strings? 6 CEOs? Is it hard to pull 6 people's strings? If you have $400 billion or more, trillion? Internet. Internet was, I think, a little bit of a shock to the New World Order. Yes, I am talking about the New World Order. What is the New World Order? Go watch my other videos. All right, so you got the New World Order wanting to take over America. We talked about Hollywood, the news, internet. Internet. People are talking. People are talking about stuff we don't want them talking about. What do? What happened to Alex Jones? What do? Suppress opposition. Next, education, schools, colleges, kid-related television shows. I've shown you Disney. SpongeBob could be thrown in there. Whatever kind of kid show you might think of, they want to get them young. And since they split the family and got both of them working, they're able to manipulate the people at a younger age. Kids. So you're controlling Hollywood, the news, and check out what's going on with the internet all of a sudden. What's happening with conservatives on the internet? What's happening with people on YouTube? All right, kids, colleges, schools. Next, government. Set up control via limiting opposition, 2-party system. All right, so who do we have a choice for this past election for president? Hillary? Trump. Hillary, Trump. Ain't much of a situation of choice. Think about going back a few years where they had 2 candidates running for
the 2004 presidential election.
Kerry and Bush, W. And they were both skull and bones. Oh, I should have brought that video up. But the choices are being eliminated. You only have 2 choices. How hard is it to control both sides? So, you think Trump was controlled? Or do you think because since day one of him even announcing it, they've been after him, and nonstop, mind you, trying to get rid of Trump, trying to impeach him, trying to look for any dirt they can. They can't do the Russia thing, so they went to hookers or whoever Stormy Daniels is. They're looking for anything they can to get rid of Trump. Now, who's they? Again, we're talking about they, the big they, the one I always talk about. Continue. Control both parties, yet we did that. Offer the appearance of choice, but give none. Well, that's a 2-party system. I think Trump trumped that system, though. This is why they're freaking out. Next, eliminate opposing people. Well, think about, Kennedy, I think, was starting to talk about getting rid of the Federal Reserve. Boy, you don't know about that. You better learn about the Federal Reserve because they are robbing us blind. They, again, robbing us blind. Federal Reserve, private institution owned by, who knows, not Americans, never audited. All right, continue. Divide the populace. Boy, I don't know how old you are, but if you're young, well, you're out of luck. But if you're a little bit older, think back years ago. Was there all this division? Now, if you go back far enough, yeah, there was some sort of division. But there was this period of time, say, between the late 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s. There wasn't all this division. All of a sudden, we got race issues and police, people against police because blacks against police because they're killing blacks and stuff like that. There's a lot of division. What did Obama do when he was in office? All of a sudden, he bans the Confederate flag. What's going on nowadays? People are tearing down Confederate statues. Why? See, it is my opinion that Obama was New World Order. It's my opinion that Hillary was New World Order and that we dodged a bullet. Next, left, right, progressive, conservative. This is a division, and the division is growing. The internet is actually helping out this division. Continue. Subdue. that which would prevent division. They don't want anybody trying to get people back together. Yeah, they don't want people, so they're going to try to ruin that. Dilute the culture. Did you ever hear of refugees? And religion. What just took place recently with religion, in regards to religion? 300 priests, pedophiles arrested or indicted or whatever. But, hey, if that took place, then that's deserving. But how did it get there? What did they do? Did the priest advertise, hey, if you're a pedophile, come here? I don't understand it. But there's division and division and division. And they definitely want to get rid of religion. Going back to that other picture. They definitely want to get rid of religion, because religion is usually anti-war. It calms people down. It brings people together in some ways. But they want to get rid of anything that would sow harmony among people, in my opinion. Keep going. Let's get rid of this. Okay, so we went through the whole thing. So if you were going to try to take over the United States of America, you don't want to do it military, you want to infiltrate it, you got all your money, you got, a good portion of people to help you with it, you can infiltrate schools. You can set up your people in some way or another to enter a school and to start teaching what you want them to teach. And I'm just got to think about it, really. Think about it on your own, and you can figure it out. I'm going to turn this off. All right. And we'll continue on. So, what is an American? Well, the Bill of Rights tells you who an American is. Who is a fundamental person that cares about the United States of America. Freedom of speech. I'm going to talk about the first two. The other ones are just as important, but I'm going to talk about the first two. Freedom of speech, First Amendment and Second Amendment. Freedom of speech, religion, press, assembly, petition. Now, think about the freedom of speech. Who is for the freedom of speech and who's against the freedom of speech? Who wants to let Alex Jones talk and who wants to shut him down? How many companies colluded? You want to talk about collusion? How many companies colluded to shut Alex Jones down? And this goes on? And this is allowed to go on? Hopefully Trump's going to pursue something. Freedom of speech. Who's an American? If you're an American, you're going to be for the fundamental things that make an American in America. America. The Constitution, Bill of Rights. That's the fundamentals. If you ain't for that, if you want to get rid of free speech, if you want to get rid of the right to bear arms, if you want to reduce or manipulate the right to bear arms, because it shall not be infringed, right? But if you want to infringe, if you want to put limitations and restrictions and little cuts, 1,000 cuts to get rid of it. Well, Americans are ones that are pro Bill of Rights, especially Bill of Rights, especially the first two. All right. And so how do you determine who's an American or not? How do you determine? What's the litmus test? Are you pro Bill of Rights? Or are you anti Bill of Rights? Are you pro First Amendment or anti? Pro Second Amendment or anti? It's very easy to start to tell who an American is. Now, if somebody is anti-Second Amendment, doesn't mean that they're in the New World Order. What it means is Edward Bernays. Manipulation, mind control, twisting and turning their little switches that they do with commercials and television ads and everything else. They get the people to sway in a certain direction. There are certain people that are more susceptible to that than others. Go watch some man in the street type things from, say, Mark Dice or others who ask liberals questions. When was the American Revolution? I don't know. Who's the current president's vice president? I don't know. Go watch some of those videos. What I'm saying is education will swing people more to the right. And the more education, the more to the right, I believe. Next, let's go. Let's watch this. Psychological warfare.
Psychological warfare aims at vital targets, thoughts, emotions, opinions, attitudes. It attempts to influence behavior by the planned use of propaganda. Many people think of propaganda as lies and distortions used by demagogues to arouse and incite. The Nazi propaganda minister...
All right. I think that was important enough to want to watch that again almost. But let's see if I can even get it back to the right spot. Is that the right spot?
It attempts to influence emotions, opinions, attitudes,
yeah, let's go
targets,
back over.
thoughts. Psychological warfare aims at vital targets, thoughts, emotions, opinions, attitudes. It attempts to influence behavior by the planned use of propaganda.
It attempts to influence behavior by the planned use of propaganda. Again, Hollywood, news, corporations, 6 corporations that own everything, or is it 5 now? Who knows? They're always merging. I'm telling you, this stuff is going on. In my opinion, this stuff is going on. They're throwing out propaganda at us, at the United States, and the people in it. And they are swaying some. And as you notice, I go to the left. Let's continue on. Hillary Rodham Clinton, senior thesis was about Saul Alinsky. And here it is. It's on Wikipedia. You can look it up yourself. So, who's Saul Alinsky? What's he all about? Well, Saul Alinsky. Let's go up a little bit. Rules for Radicals. He wrote a book, Rules for Radicals. He was... you can read about him. Let's take a look at some of these rules. That's what I'm trying to get at now. You just go research Saul Alinsky on your own. And that Hillary Clinton loved him. All right. 13 rules. I'm going to skip around because there's some that apply and some that don't. Power is not only what you have, but what the enemy thinks you have. And never go outside. Whenever possible, go outside expertise. Make the enemy live up to his own book of rules. Ridicule. Aha. Here's one. Ridicule is man's most potent weapon. Think about it. Alex Jones, who's a big threat to the New World Order. What happens? They always ridicule him. They always make fun of him. They make fun of him to the point where reasonable people won't even look into him, won't even listen to what he's saying. They hear the little tidbits from the mainstream news, and they'll say, oh, well, he's a whack job. But they don't look into them. They only hear what they're being told because they're being manipulated. Let's move on. And the same thing, by the way, goes for Trump. Have you noticed? Think about it. Don't they make fun of Trump? Keep going. Good tactics is one of your people enjoy. A tactic that drags on too long becomes a drag. Well, that's true, but keep on. But then they go on to keep the pressure on. How long have they been after Trump? How long? Ever since you first started hearing his name with connection to an election? And then, of course, thereafter, and once he won, they've been pressuring him and on him and on him and on him and on him. It's never ending. It's never stopping. They can't find something under this rock, they turn over this one. They can't find something under that, they turn over that. They can't find something under that, they turn over another one. They are purposely trying to get him out of there. They're looking for anything they can to get him out of there. All right, let's move on. Premise, tactics, if you push negative hard. Oh, here. If you push a negative hard and deep enough, it will break through into its counter side. In other words, it's going to work. Keep pushing it, basically. Pick the target. All right. So, can you see some of these things applying to what's going on in the world today, especially when it comes to Trump and, of course, Alex Jones? I do. Next. Useful idiot. What's a useful idiot? Some people apply this phrase to Saul Alinsky, and there's debate about that, whatever. And they're saying on this Wikipedia entry of useful idiot, they're saying Vladimir Lenin. And that's even debated. But what does it mean? In political jargon, a useful idiot is a derogatory term for a person perceived as a propagandist for a cause whose goals they're not fully aware and who is used cynically by leaders of that cause. All right, let me break that down to simple language. It's people who are saying something that they have really no clue about, but they keep pushing a certain position on things. Oh, guns are bad. Guns are bad. We got to get rid of guns. They have no clue what they're talking about. They have no clue what guns are for, the purpose of guns, the purpose of the Second Amendment. They have no clue. They just say, oh, guns are bad. We got to get rid of them. They're talking from their useful idiot. They're a useful idiot. Next, how about the Trump derangement syndrome. That's a good example. I just happen to think of that. Trump derangement syndrome. Think about it. Oh, I hate Trump. He's a racist. He's a this. He's a that. They have no idea that they basically dodged a bullet, as far as I'm concerned, with Hillary Clinton. Because in my opinion, Hillary Clinton's definitely New World Order. In my opinion. So, bleh. Next is just think of, but then you try to question them about like issues and their political stance. They have no clue what they're talking about. Watch again some men on the street interviews of liberals and progressives or whatever, and well, when they're questioned about, well, what do you think about Trump's stance on this, and how about the jobless rate is down and jobs are up, and they have no clue. They have no clue. Just watch some of the stuff that's out there. And there's tons of stuff out there. Matter of fact, if you're watching me, you're probably not even the person I really want to get to. It's probably someone that will never watch this video. But anyway, let's continue. Anyway, useful idiots. As far as I'm concerned, I'm just going to spell it out. As far as I'm concerned, they're the left. And they've been manipulated that way by everything else I've just showed you. Next. European migrant crisis. Well, going back to, come on, this, going back to my little thingamajig, my thought experiment, right? Well, how else would you want to, say, divide the populace or to dilute the culture? All right, let's go. Do you think that this is just come out of the woods? And, you know, the left, I believe, thinks, okay, well, these people, you know, they're racist because they want to get rid of people because they're a different race or a different color or whatever the heck they think. I don't know what the heck. Something along those lines, though. But do they understand that there might be something much, much deeper going on here? No, they have no clue. They have no clue what else might be going on here. They don't have no clue that this might be orchestrated purposely. All right, let's continue. How am I saying about this orchestration? What would be the purpose of it, right? Did you ever watch the movie Braveheart? I hope you did, because I'm not going to set this scene too far up. England, Scotland, war between them, rebellion or whatever. And the king is going to say something when I play this video. And he was trying to take over Scotland or quell a rebellion from Scotland. You know, Mel Gibson, the movie Braveheart. Okay, so what does he say? Listen closely, because it'll probably play it a couple times, but listen.
If we can't get them out, we'll breed them out. If we can't get them out, we'll breed them out. If we can't get them out, we'll breed them out.
All right, that's enough. If we can't get them out, we'll breed them out. Breed them out. He was talking about an order that he issued, prima nocta, or whatever the heck it's pronounced. First night. In other words, if any two people get married in Scotland at the time, the English knights, because they were the rulers, had the first opportunity to lay with the wife, the bride, on her wedding night. The first opportunity. Why? Well, to get her pregnant, so her husband can't. If you can't get them out, you breed them out. Think about that in terms of what we were talking about before. Next, and we're talking about ideologies too here. Ideologies, mostly. I'm 99.9% talking about ideologies. Next, Paris, France. What does it look like today? Oh, wait. Here's a travel guide from 2012. And I got to skip around. Paris, France, 2012, this was posted. Turn down the volume a bit. Look around. Oh, let's go back to that if I can get there. Street view. I missed it, I think. There's some streets. There's some streets. Paris, France. Another street view. Streets. More streets. All right. Now, Paul Joseph Watson put out a video, which I'm sure he got from somewhere else, but here's the streets of Paris now.
Mattresses and trash are strewn everywhere. First it was just the outer suburbs, now it's expanding into the tourist hotspots. Faced with the choice
I want to watch that again.
Everywhere. First it was just the outer suburbs,
this
now
is Paris,
it's
France.
expanding into the tourist everywhere. First it was...
All right. Get the idea? Catching on? Alex Jones, censored from 25 different places, all in one day. Something like that. Close. Kicked off YouTube, kicked off Facebook, kicked off, banned from Twitter for a week anyway. Twitter didn't quite get rid of him yet, but they're cutting him down a lot. You know what took place. If you're watching this video, you should know what took place. I believe even people on the left know what took place. As an interesting side note to this, when I wanted to pull up images of Alex Jones, I did a Google search, and I did it through voice. And I said into the microphone, I said, show me images of Alex Jones. And this is what I expected. That's not what came up. This is what came up. Where's their Alex Jones there? Now, there is a woman called Alex Jones. I don't know very much about her, but do you notice how they even got cut out of a Google search? Alex Jones got cut out of a Google search. This Alex Jones, probably the most popular one, especially to this area, because I believe the other one's from England or I don't know where else, but somewhere different. And totally cut out of the search results. Manipulation is what I'm talking about. You understand? You catching on through all this whole thing? Next. Breaking. Tech companies meet in secret to steal 2018 election. And yes, from InfoWars. Why not? I'm not going to... This is a InfoWars article. Go read it. Use the title, and you can do a search and get it. And you can read it and watch videos about it and stuff like that. But when you want to stop an ideology from going forward, if you have an agenda against stopping ideas, first of all, you're being anti-American. We discussed that with the Bill of Rights. Next, what is it that Alex Jones is saying that everybody wants to shut him up? Who's he getting under the skin of? The New World Order, of course. I'll answer it for you. New World Order. This is a New World Order getting rid of ideas that they don't want out there. And they're being effective of it. And conservatives are being pushed off all sorts of platforms, including YouTube. Continue. What this is about is an invasion, a war. We actually, in my opinion, have a foreign entity, the New World Order, trying to take over our country. They've infiltrated lots of places, including our intelligence community. Education, news, Hollywood, anything that's influential. They've already infiltrated it. They snuck in. They snuck in when people weren't paying attention. That's the American citizens, the ones that are for the Bill of Rights and Constitution, for the First Amendment, of freedom of speech, and would never consider banning Alex Jones or anybody else like that for simply talking and giving an opinion and ideas in his voice. We're being played, people. We're being played because we're being invaded. This is a war. As they say, it's a war of ideas, ideologies. It's not a shooting war, but still it's an invasion. We're being taken over. Next. It's an invasion of ideologies. People are manipulating us. But I'll tell you what, once they do get control, if they get it, then we're going to have probably tyranny. Total tyranny. No more worried about whether Alex Jones got kicked off. Nobody will be allowed to do anything outside of the box, outside of what they want. And, by the way, go to my other videos. Some of their talked about goals or known goals is depopulation. And if you look at the Georgia Guidestones, they're talking about depopulation of 7 billion people. Well, when I say depopulation, that's a euphemism for murder. They're wanting to murder 7 billion people. This is a problem, don't you think? Check it out. Learn something. Don't give this, you watching this video probably already know all this stuff. Give it to somebody else. Whatever. Continue. Because we're under divide and conquer. And the last word of that is conquer. United States, we're in trouble. We're in trouble. We're in serious trouble. About the only thing that's saving us now was two. Alex Jones and Donald Trump. Alex Jones putting the truth out. Now, he's not the only one. A lot of people are putting the truth out now. But they're all being censored. Alex Jones just had two people, Owen Schroyer, and I can't think of his name right now at the top of my head, but the other guy, kicked off platforms. I wish I knew his name. It's terrible. I can't remember it at the moment. And I know it, too. But anyway, he's getting more people banned from his organization, from YouTube. And how about that other guy just a couple days ago? Well, from this video, anyway. There was some other guy talking, and he was going to talk negatively about Alex Jones. He was doing a live YouTube video, and he got cut off the air, and he was banned for a while. Until they came back and let him go. But he had a hard shot coming. It's because we're under divide and conquer. And again, the key word there is conquer. We're getting close. If they ever get a hold of the United States, that's it for the rest of the world. Take a look at the rest of the world now. Take a look. Look at the news. Look at Sweden. Look at all what's going on with this migrant thing all over the whole world. Oh, boy. Just remember, we're in trouble. We're in trouble, and we need to gain back the First Amendment. Alex Jones needs to be put back on all the platforms. He does. He needs to be put back for simple, if no other reason. Now, there's a deeper reason than this, but for no other reason than just simply the free speech aspect. This is ridiculous. By the way, there ain't no such thing as hate speech. That's nonsense. Nonsense! Being manipulated. Divide and conquer. We're in trouble. We're in trouble. And they're trying to fight back. They're trying to gain hold. And if you noticed, there's no holes barred anymore. They're flipping over every rock to get Trump out of there. They've already gotten rid of Alex Jones over everywhere. Alex Jones is starting to think that it has something to do with the 2018 midterms. And he started to think there was going to be a major move after the midterms. Now he's starting to think that it's before the midterms. I don't know. I tend to agree it's going to be very soon. They're getting rid of communications. This is the way you take over a country. You get rid of their communications so they can't talk to each other. Well, same thing with Alex Jones. He was the one putting out all the opposing information from the New World Order. He's out. What are they planning on doing next? Because the next things, it gets worse and worse and worse. Guns will be next, more than likely. They're going to try to look for some other way. Some other event's going to happen in the world. Some other, coincidentally, event that seems to always happen when they would try to do a push for guns. And I talked about that in my other videos. One about guns. Go look at it. All right. Thanks for listening. Sorry about the mask. But obviously the stuff I'm saying, I don't want to be... it could come with trouble. I don't know. Thanks for listening. Subscribe, like, all that stuff. Share, especially. Share it to the people that don't want to watch this stuff. I don't know. All right. Well, I did the best I could in the video. Thanks a lot for watching. And that's it. So, name's Rack Attack. Like, subscribe, share, all that stuff. See you later. Bye.